What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and what an absolute kind of devastation. A loss in Brazil to the Los Angeles Chargers. And not only was it a loss, but we lost a very important key player on the offense within 3 plays of the football game. I think you all know who I'm talking about. I think you know how impactful this loss was to Xavier Worthy. We see him go to the sidelines, and really, it was just a lot of emotion going on. Obviously, he was in very much pain. And so we're going to be talking about the Xavier Worthy, a dislocated right shoulder. This obviously was coming out from multiple sources. I believe Ian Rappaport was the one to report on it. It does look like it could potentially be pretty severe. Really kind of diving into assess. I think the big thing was the fact that they needed to come back to Kansas City to really evaluate. And I'm seeing a couple options.
Worthy was what we thought internally, a dislocated shoulder. That's been confirmed. What does that mean? That means that he's going to miss some time. It means that he can return to play with a shoulder harness or strap. It's sort of Darnell Mooney 2.0, except Darnell Mooney happened earlier in the preseason.
Juwan Jennings even, right? We'll go to him with the
We'll
shoulder.
go to him shortly. Darnell Mooney, who missed week 1, but hopefully is back very soon here. Worthy, he may hit IR, short-term IR. The hope is he can avoid surgery, play with a harness, his catch radius will be affected some, and have surgery in the offseason to get fixed for the next season to get rid of the brace. That is a more normal pattern. So that was the big injury from last Thursday.
Really an offense that has yet to ever see Xavier Worthy, to see Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown all at the exact same time on the same field. It's just insane. And Mahomes obviously still is Mahomes. We were able to see that in the game. But I think it just really kind of shows you how important it is to create depth on the wide receiver position and have quality depth at the wide receiver position. So we're going to kind of dive in and talk about really the implications that this could have for the offense. I'm going to be honest right out the gate. I am very optimistic. I obviously think that Xavier Worthy is a huge threat on the offense for any defense. I mean, we saw what he was able to do in a rookie season. He is a huge asset to this offense. But when the Kansas City Chiefs are able to go out and draft a Jalen Royals, and I get he doesn't have the exact same speed, but you have depth now. You have guys like Tyquan Thornton who can somewhat replicate what Xavier Worthy would be able to do. In years prior, you may not quite have had that. I mean, there were years where we had guys like, Juju Smith-Schuster out there as almost the primary wide receiver. We had Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, MVS. And so now that you kind of really reflect and look at what our wide receiver room is, I don't think it's as big of a concern to take a loss like this. Now, if they start to compound and you start to have more and more and more, then yes, this is really going to become a concern. So what implications, again, does this have for the offense? So he's known for his elite speed, his explosiveness. And really what I think you're going to see lacking maybe is some of those jet touch passes, some of the things that we kind of gadget play around in Xavier Worthy, some of those quick screens that allow him to really collect the yak and burst out of the gate and go. I think some of that's going to be missing. And so I think they're going to have to really kind of change what they're going to be looking at. I do think that they're obviously losing a deep threat. Yes, granted, they do have Tyquan Thornton who has that vertical speed. We saw it in the first game. He went deep. He caught a good ball. But the thing is, you had 2 of those types of receivers, and now you're down to just 1. So you're really kind of losing that deep ball, that elite speed and explosiveness. I think losing him early also prevents the Chiefs from really stretching defenses, which they intended to do, and I think that also was reflected in this game. I think there was a game plan to incorporate Xavier Worthy. And when your wide receiver goes out in the 3rd play of the game, then I think that really kind of changes the game plan. You have to make adjustments on the fly, and you have to be able to do that pretty quickly. So what that really does is that kind of changes the depth around, I think. And I really think that changes how you kind of move forward. So obviously we know that Rashee Rice is suspended for 6 games, and obviously we were able to get through 1 game, so now it is down to 5. That leaves you with Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, and really Travis Kelce after that. And obviously some of those other tight ends like Noah Noah Gray, and then you got some others. And I just really think that, again, the depth of what you're offering Patrick Mahomes from a catching standpoint is still in a good spot with these types of wide receivers. Again, you just have to start to really kind of evaluate your game plan, and that's what's next. So without a downfield threat, I think Kansas City struggled to convert going 0 for 7. Now, do I think that that was all based on Xavier Worthy being out? No, we saw footballs being dropped. We saw routes not being executed. We saw this team really struggle in more than just the depth piece. I think this was a first game jitters, but on top of that, it just was lack of execution. There was lack of execution on the defense more than the offense, and that's something we're going to talk about as well in another video. But I'm not overly, I guess you could say, I'm not overly worried. I'm not hitting a panic button. My panic meter isn't breaking in the red. This is the first game. We watched a lot of football this weekend that really kind of showed some other teams that are struggling. And I really think that there's a lot of teams that are still trying to figure out their dynamic and what they're trying to accomplish. So am I worried about the Kansas City Chiefs? Just a little bit. I think it's more so, again, on the defensive side. But I'm not worried to the point where I'm like, oh man, this season's completely over. We still have Patrick Mahomes. We still have Andy Reid. We still have, the list goes on. And I still think that Brett Veach is going to do his magic and really get this team squared away. Now, obviously, there are questions around who could potentially come in and fill a role. And you're not going to be able to replace an Xavier Worthy. If you think that you can go trade for somebody in week 2, and get that done, more than likely that's not going to happen. And there's definitely not an Xavier Worthy out on the free agent market because, ladies and gentlemen, if he was out there, he would be on a team producing with another team. And so there really are a lot of slim options available. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs really look to make a move necessarily in the wide receiver room. They might go add somebody, to the practice squad and add somebody off the practice squad. I did see that Allen Robinson tweeted out and said, hey, Kansas City, I'm here for if you need some help. Do I think that would be a good addition? I do. I think Allen Robinson had always kind of been tied to the Kansas City Chiefs through probably the last 3 to 4 years. At some point, he's hit the market, and he's been available, and I think, that he just did never find his way to Kansas City. I think he would be a good veteran add to this wide receiver room. But the thing is you have a lot of his play style, and so to be able to bring him in and catch him up to speed pretty quickly would almost be similar to kind of a introduction to the Kansas City Chiefs the way we saw DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, it took a few to really kind of get settled in, learn the playbook, and really kind of take off from there. And so I think it would be probably a similar situation to what an Allen Robinson would do. And ladies and gentlemen, I think you really kind of see like what goes into building a connection with Patrick Mahomes and the time it takes to really kind of have a training camp and the mini camps that go on. And there's numerous things that allow you to build that rapport with Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's the most important thing, because then when it translates into the season, he knows he can rely on you to be in those spots, to cut those routes, to really do what you're supposed to do in a blocking scheme. So I think that there's a big piece to signing someone in the offseason versus bringing them in due to an injury in the middle of the season. So I don't believe that anybody is going to be necessarily a big-time trade or a big addition is going to happen. I think the Chiefs are going to continue to do what they do. They're going to work. They're going to figure out and educate themselves on what went wrong, and they will come back and they will start to be better. And we get that all the time. We've gotten that before in press conferences after close losses or close wins. Hey, we're going to go back to the drawing board. We're going to see what's going on, and we're going to learn from it. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys think of this injury. Let me know what you think of the Xavier Worthy running into Travis Kelce and dislocating his shoulder. Let me know if you think that he will be out for a period of time or if he's going to be out for the rest of the year. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And make sure you guys smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. And as always, I end every single video the exact same way. Have a good day.